Well, what's so interesting about Ethereum, it's everything. Seen that because we commissioned for Real Vision a kind of headquarters in crypto voxels, which we're going to release soon, just for the fun of it. And the architects, we paid in ETH, and the land we paid in ETH. So it's like, okay, well, ETH is clearly money, but ETH is technology. We know that too. ETH is also a platform of which people are building a lot of different applications. So whether we talk about community tokens, NFTs, DeFi, a whole bunch of stuff, DAOs, they're all going to be on ETH. Now, will ETH be the only chain? No. Clearly, people use Solana for stuff, and there'll be a multi-chain world of which there'll be a few giants and a long tail of stuff. And that's pretty normal. But ETH has got really interesting because of this. And then, I came out with a piece in Global Macro Investor last month called The Greatest Trade. And, here's my macro head on again, is okay, we've got this adoption that is kind of exponential, right? It's growing at least twice the rate of Bitcoin. And it's by far dwarfing the rest of the space. Then the EIP 1559 comes along and that reduces the supply. So that's clearly bullish for the price. And then you look at the on-chain analytics and everyone is bloody staking it because now it's a pretty clear run between now and ETH 2.0. So why would you not if you're a long-term holder? So everybody's staking it. So that's taken a ton of stuff off the exchange. There's tons that have gone into just holding, tons that are locked up in DeFi, tons that are locked up in NFTs. And you're left with, I don't know, as of today, 11% of the entire supply of Ethereum available, and it's going down every day. And the demand is going exponential. The only outcome is an exponential rise in price. There's no other outcome.
Raoul Pal, the CEO and founder of Real Vision and a well-known Ethereum bull, believes that Ethereum is set to explode and remain the leading blockchain in a multi-chain world. He sees Ethereum's exponential adoption, deflationary effects of EIP 1559, and growing demand for staking as key factors that will result in an exponential rise in price. Pal's mental model for evaluating crypto assets is based on Metcalfe's law and network effects, and he sees Ethereum's growing user base as a critical factor in its success. Despite execution risks, he argues that Ethereum is the greatest trade in crypto right now. In the video, Pal breaks down his thoughts on the future and his outlook on crypto as Ethereum prepares for the Shanghai fork.
Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to drop your comment and observations in the comment section below. Thanks and enjoy the video.
There's a lot of macro guys that will be annoyingly kind of hand-wavy, like, if it's being adopted at speed, it's going to work. And everyone's like, well, what exactly can I model that in a spreadsheet? No, forget about it. It's irrelevant. If you look at the rate of adoption that's going on of the entire crypto space, and this is my true north. This is all I need to know. There's one single thing I need to know and nothing else. So we know that it's growing at 113% a year in terms of number of users. And we will assume that over time, that trend rate of growth falls a bit. So if it falls from this year and goes down to 83%, so that's a significant fall in the growth rate. And we saw the internet do similar, but it was at peak growth was 63%, we're at 113. It gets by the end of 2024 to 1 billion people. And that gets us to about 3 or 4 billion people by 2027, 28. Okay, so a blind chimp can choose a cryptocurrency and get rich. If you look at the size of the assets, the entire crypto space as of today hit 2 trillion again, I think. Global equities are about 200 trillion. Global bonds are like 200 trillion. Global real estate's about 100 trillion. 2 trillion, 200 trillion. I figure that's probably 100x. And we all know, almost all of us realize that all bonds, all securities, all assets are going on chain anyway. So it's probably even bigger than that. But the point being is that you'll never, ever in your entire life, ever again, and ever beforehand, were given 100x in an asset that's already up 2 million% when you look at Bitcoin. You've never been given this. And you can basically choose anything and it will go up. So once you do that, you're not scared of making the wrong bet, and it stops you being tribal, because within that, some of them are going to be amazing. You take the pressure off. You take some basic bets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, a couple of others here and there, and then you can just have a basket of stuff. And over time, decide, okay, I quite like that, or that's getting faster adoption. So then you start to look at, like, Solana is clearly getting adoption. It's clearly happening, and it's clearly happening in the price. Okay, so do you want to own a bit more of that? Maybe. Is Polkadot getting to where it should be? Don't know yet. But it's worth keeping an eye on. There's a lot of stuff. And then, so that's how I tend to deal with it, is forget trying to model it and look for fair values and this. It's like, as I said, you can be a 3-year-old kid and be given a box of names of cryptocurrencies and take 10 out, and you will literally make 30 times your money over the next 20 years. I'll approach macro, and a lot of macro guys do. You've got this big thesis now, which is 100x the space in the shortest period of time. So then our job is, okay, how do I add alpha? Where do I find the better bets? Now, there will be probably 50 tokens or assets that will outperform Ethereum, but they're riskier. I don't know what they are. I have no ability to choose them. When you look at Ethereum, it has all of the elements of the lowest risk, highest quality trade. And it's a rewarding ecosystem with rewarding people in it, because there's a social element to this, there's a cultural element to this movement as well. And it's rewarding. So it's a good space to hang out where you feel comfortable with the asset. You understand how many smart people are working on it. So when you say to me, oh, there's a risk in 1559 getting done, my answer was the risk is like minuscule. And so I didn't care about it. Like ETH 2.0, it's minuscule. Why? Because there's a lot of very smart people, smarter than I'll ever be, working on it. So the probability is extremely high. And that's what makes ETH so rewarding. That matters. Right now, the marginal change is more and more people locking up ETH, right? The rate of change of people locking up is still extremely high. What will happen is the rate of change of people staking will fall. It's as simple as that. The bull case is that, of course, there's a load of people who are just going to stake and just leave it there. And that's good, because that's the long-term health of the system. Nobody's in this for the quick buck. But there's a shit ton of people, yourselves included, who will end up selling some ETH because they want to buy a house or get married or do all the stuff that costs fiat money. People trying to overthink everything. ETH currently is a platform. That's how I think about it. It's a platform from which to utilize their blockchain to transfer value, to store value, and to create applications on top. So, is elements of it money, as we talked about? Yes. Are elements of store of value? Yes. Are elements pure technology? Yes. I mean, it's everything. So, it kind of is still the vision that Vitalik had of the kind of internet computer. I mean, it is that, but that sounds a bit restrictive. It's kind of I call it the internet of value, and you could call it the platform of value. And it's not exclusive, because others can do similar things, but nothing has the scale, the scope that Ethereum currently has. But generally speaking, I found that people in the Ethereum ecosystem are too busy building businesses to fight with each other or to fight with anybody else. You don't even see kind of ETH versus Solana. It's like, oh, that's an interesting project over there. They seem to be growing quite fast. I better get on with what I'm doing here. It's a very, 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 very different mentality. And it's because my guess is the Ethereum ecosystem is not a finished thing. Well, Bitcoin is finished, really. And therefore, it also becomes a bit boring. And I know this is terrible to say, but I understand the boomer coin thing, because it's a bit like gold, right? Gold's perfect. Gold doesn't have to do anything else. It's perfect. It's gold. And Bitcoin's perfect. It's Bitcoin. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. Now, so it's a bit boring to talk about. So then there's sovereign adoption. That is interesting. There's the institutional adoption, I think is very interesting. The Lightning layer as a payments layer, that's interesting. There is some interesting stuff. It's just not as intuitively interesting as the amount of innovation that's coming out of this space. Cycles morph and change over time. But humans, by definition, tend to be cyclical in what we do. GDP is cyclical, credit is cyclical, equities are cyclical, commodities are cyclical. So there's something inherent within how humans get excessively pessimistic and excessively optimistic, that it's cyclical. Is it driven by the halvening? Probably. Will that continue in due course? Maybe not. But there'll still be a cyclicality, and it'll keep moving around. If you look at the GDP cycle, it used to be kind of every 3 years, peak, trough, peak, trough, peak, trough. Then we got to modern central banking, and it started being like a 4-year cycle. And then we've seen the last one was a significant period of time, 2009 till 2020, 11 years. Over the next 10 years, we're already, all of us, dealing with this crypto exponentiality, right? We're starting to get our heads around what exponentiality means. When I say crypto goes up 5x in the last 3 months of the year, you kind of laugh, but you think, yeah, it's possible, right? That's understanding.
I definitely do.
That's what exponential means, right? We're starting to get our heads around this. But we've got, all at the same time, the largest confluence of technologies that are all into maturity, i.e. the exponential stage. That's AI, robotics, genetic sciences, EVs, green energy. We have distributed computing power, Internet of Things, wearable technology. There's autonomous vehicles. There's a whole bunch of these things that are game-changing. Literally, we can't get our heads around what this all means. And it's all going to happen at the same time. Now, there is a decent probability that changes the trend rate of growth finally. And then there is another probability that if you stick any money into any of these things, you can make some real returns, some really gigantic returns. We talked about it in the crypto space. So a lot of people, I used to argue that average millennial at 32 years old was pretty screwed because their parents got an opportunity of all-time cheap valuations of equities, all-time cheap valuation of property, all-time cheap valuation of bonds and credit. They couldn't help but make money by just saving some money. They screwed it up by borrowing money, but that's what they did. And they borrowed money because their wages didn't go up. And I've proven that out over time. It's amazing. If you adjust household debt for wages and look at the total savings, the total amount, it's basically stayed consistent. They've just topped up their loss of purchasing power over time. But the millennials were faced with all-time record property prices, all-time record equity prices, all-time record credit prices, fixed income prices. So what was their marginal expected return? It was so low that they didn't bother saving. Then 2020 came along and it changed everything because you financialized the whole lot of them in one go. And crypto is a lot of this opportunity, and a lot of them are investing in stuff like ARK, which is these long shot future things. And I think that's dead right. I think there's a huge opportunity for people, both in building businesses, investing in stuff, and just the chance for society to adapt at a rapid pace. But it's going to leave a lot of people behind because people fear change. And if you're not used to it, you're going to get terrified. I mean, look at the narratives that are going on right now. Vaccine, anti-vaccine. What is that about? Technology. Elon Musk, self-driving cars, Tesla, the hatred and the love. What is that about? Technology. Cathie Wood. I mean, why people are creating an anti-Cathie Wood ETF? That's beyond me. Why? Technology. What is going on with global warming? Why do people fear that? Technology. Why do people fear Bitcoin? Technology. Why do Bitcoin people fear Ethereum? Technology. It's this unprecedented rise in technology that is making us all feel like, Christ, I can't keep up. And I don't want things to change as fast. And that's driving societal problems on a scale, and that's not going away unless society participates in change and benefits. But we're still fighting about a vaccine, saying, there's a benefit, basically free for everybody, and half the people don't want it because it's technology. Oh my God, you're messing with my DNA. I mean, but that will change over time. People get accepting of stuff that they weren't accepting of before.
For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.